Alan, welcome.
Thanks, Nick.
Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you
Likewise.
today. It's a hot day here
Yeah.
in the room, albeit it might be raining outside.
I think that's just because there's so many people here. That's
Yeah,
probably
exactly,
why.
exactly. But it's not raining on you guys. Tell me more about Advisory AI.
Sure. Yeah. It's been a whirlwind of a couple of years. We're now working with 10% of the market right now. What we've done is we've built an ecosystem for an entire advice firm, from advisors, power planners to compliance officers, where you can do everything from the simple table stakes we now believe, which is meeting notes, to suitable letters and compliance checks, to the whole 9 yards.
Fantastic. And how's it been received by firms? How do you distinguish between different types of advice firm and their readiness to adopt AI?
Sure. It's been fantastic. One of the things that I cherish ourselves on most is awards that we've been able to win by advice firms being able to pick us on that. So we were now EATT winners, third time in a row, which is fantastic, and it's been chosen by advisors and advice firms. FinTech Startup of the Year for 2026, which is also fantastic as well. So, all going well. The typical advice firm that we end up working with actually resonates a lot with IntelliFlow. The sort of firms that end up working with IntelliFlow. And so a large portion of the, hundreds of firms that we now work with use IntelliFlow, and that's where this partnership resonates really well with a lot of our clients.
Fantastic. And Alan, there may be people listening today who aren't aware of your background, which I think is really interesting. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I started a wealth management firm pretty early on in my journey. And you know what's funny, Nick? I thought I had a secret. I thought I figured out a secret growth hack. And
this isn't the Coke recipe or something like that, is
I'm going to give it away now.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So the secret growth hack is, so my surname's growing. I've got a big old family.
Yeah.
I think I have about 30 first cousins. And if you're adding in second cousins, I've got like another 70 or 80. Big old family.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what? I've got a growth hack. I'm going to start a wealth management firm, and I'm going to have all of my family as clients, right? And I thought, great, I've got it. And within about a span of 7 months, boom, I've got 70 clients. Right? I'm thinking, this is easy.
What, all of them on the family and friends rate, right?
No. This is a premium rate here, right? I'm a businessman through and through. No, and they're all in, and I think it was fantastic. 7 months, I found a cheat code to this. But the average growing that I was looking after earned about £60,000,
Okay.
which was not enough to build a profitable wealth management firm. So I had a really uncomfortable, traumatic conversation of telling my own family members, you're not making enough money to be a client of mine.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing about it now, but I felt so uncomfortable in the moment.
Yeah.
That I thought, okay, I just don't think this is right. I think this is categorically wrong. These people my family could get so much value from that. But I didn't feel as if there was a tool out there in the marketplace that enabled for me to scale myself to such an extent that I could look after people such as my family members in a profitable manner. And so that's how Advisory AI got started. And then a lot of my own learnings of being a financial advisor, power planner, and my own trauma that I went through. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's a great background and a great motivator.
Sure.
Really,
yeah.
to start the business. And over that time, how have you seen, Alan? What trends have you seen evolve over those last 2 years? Because you'll have started this fairly near the beginning of sort of AI and being adopted in our profession. How have you seen that change?
Yep. We've been super fortunate in being able to start the business at such a time in which AI was booming, when ChatGPT just launched. And initially when we launched, we went to market with meeting note taking. So recording, transcribing, meeting note taking. When we launched it, it was it was an incredible feature. It was it really took the industry forward. But what we did find eventually was it wasn't curing the bottleneck in firms. What it was doing is it was moving and shifting that bottleneck into another department within the same company. For example, if an advisor now becomes more productive, what does that mean? That now means power planners have much more work to do. And so what do you do then? You now have to hire a whole series of more power planners in order for you to conduct that business. Otherwise, you are just as slow as you were before. And so what we then did off the back of that new problem set is built out a paraplanning module, with suitability letters, annual review letters, LOA reviews, summaries. And then once a paraplan becomes more efficient, where's the bottleneck go after? Is compliance.
Yeah.
And so what we've essentially built out now is, and somewhat by accident, is we built out an entire workflow that takes you from the first meeting that you end up having with a client all the way towards right at the end, in which you end up taking that off and making that investment.
Fantastic. And so, I mean, essentially, if you think across the whole journey there of an advice business, you're improving each role, if you like, each participant along the way in terms of their ability by using the tech to do more and do different things, right? And free that time. What do you think about, and I'm going to try and not lead the witness here, but what do you think about the myths in the marketplace around AI replacing jobs, or is it not a myth? Well, where's your take on that?
It's an awesome question, and it's a question that I get a significant amount now. You know what? I don't think there's job replacement. I do think you can change that slightly and say it's task replacement. It is replacing tasks, right? But is it replacing the entirety of what an individual does? Oh, absolutely not. I would divide financial planning as much emotional as it is rational. And the rational is typically the elements in which it's if this, then that, right? It's these flows that we're consistent with, but it's also the flows that typically we're not the most excited to go ahead and do, right? Being candid. And so those are the areas that we're really trying to hit towards. Those are the areas that I think AI is best to hit towards. The area where it's not is taste. I'm sure you've found it yourself. Now, if you use ChatGPT or Claude and it gives you an answer and you just come back with it and go, no, you're wrong. What it would do is go, I'm so sorry, I'm completely wrong. Yeah. Because it has no taste. It's got no backbone, right? It doesn't have any taste to really understand what is... what do I believe? What do I not believe? It only believes what you believe yourself. And so from that area, that taste, what we call it, or somewhat of an art form to understand someone's emotional character, is something that AI is so far away from now, is still being queried as to whether we'll ever get close to it. But at least for this moment, it's absolutely not there. Yeah. So I'll definitely say we're in the era of task replacement, but not
interesting.
Job.
So your views on the sort of super intelligence of AI, what's your achievable timescales? Where are you on that?
I think it comes down to your definition.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I think if it was 5 years ago and you asked me that, you asked me what, super intelligence meant, I would say where we are now is super intelligence.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
And the funny thing is, we ask this now and we're going, no, super intelligence is so far away.
Yeah,
so I think it really varies on your own definition. But I would say super intelligence, we're already there, but there are, of course, like intelligence in many layers. Yeah. Intelligence from a perspective of being able to recall information and be able to give you data that's already been given in the past, top notch.
Yeah.
For new caveats and new situations that is still yet to ever experience, and we're experiencing that now, it's quite a bit away.
Yeah, fantastic. Tell me a little bit about Atlas.
Atlas is our baby, and hopefully every advisor's best friend, right? So it's a model that is integrated with your entire tech stack, from your CRMs, your cash flow modeling, your platforms, all in one place. And what that means is you can now start to ask queries in a way that you've never asked before. You can talk to your data in a way that you've never talked before. Even asking simple questions that might consume some time, such as simple questions like, how many clients do I have? Out of my client base, how many are women, how many are female? And perhaps even to a greater depth in being able to ask, what 20% of my clients are resorting to 80% of my revenue? That's an in-depth question. We had a firm the other day ask the query of, my ambition for my company is to make 20 million. Do you think that's realistic? And Atlas came back saying, actually, based on the way you price, I believe you guys can get to 23. And that was fascinating, because what it's doing there is data backed. It's recalling all through that data and saying, actually, you can make £3 million more by doing these series of bits of things. It's a level of insight to our data we've just never had before. And it's a big shift for us, because for so long, we've been talking about time saving. Time saving is fantastic. But the bigger question is, what do you end up doing with time saving? And we made this joke all the time going, I guess we're going to play Gulf War, right? I somewhat personally hate that. I know others do too. But then the question here comes with, but what are we going to do with that Well, now with Atlas, this is a tool that can end up making you more profitable, have growth for your business. And that's how we're working with firms with Atlas now.
And that access to the data that lives in different systems is clearly really important to make Atlas work. What is your observation on data quality across the varying systems across the marketplace that you're working with?
Sure, yeah. The more comprehensive, the better. Right? I always say AI is like having the smartest paraplanner, the smartest financial advisor, but every morning it turns up, it's got amnesia, right? It just doesn't have a clue. It's got no context about your background, how you think about things, how you're planning around your future. And so data is incredibly important. And the breadth of that data is incredibly important. So for example, we've got this integration with IntelliFlow, right? Where at the moment, I believe it's coming to about 100 fields that we can end up accessing. And so hopefully the future vision is as our partnership improves and those fields increase, it can only get better with the comprehensiveness of the data that we can have access to. But yeah, that sort of partnership integration level is vital to ensure something like Atlas can actually do its job.
Fantastic. Well, I really genuinely hope, Alan, that with IO Next Generation that we launched today, then we can work together and make that so much more seamless, so much more effective. So future gazing.
Yeah.
Biggest opportunity that no one out there is talking about.
I'll give props to IO because I think you guys talked about it this morning. It is for us to go away from being reactive to proactive. How can a model go ahead and do that? There's a great quote of, it shouldn't just live in that small minute or 5 minutes you interact with it. It should be living and breathing 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week. It should be working continuously in the background so that it can find any inefficiencies that you have in your firm so that you can be as effective as possible. Now, the really exciting thing is we should be proactive in the next 3 months. And so in the next 3 months, Atlas should be able to tell you before you even do anything yourself, hey, you've got a series of clients that you have not met in the past 6 months that I really think you should meet for these reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to book them in for you? Yes or no? Be able to book them in for a meeting. Once that meeting comes around, be able to do the pre-meeting prep, record that meeting, conduct the meeting note directly afterwards. It can tell from the meeting that you conducted a recommendation. From that recommendation, write a suitable letter and say, hey, I've just integrated with all these different platforms, got all this data in here. I'm about to finish a suitable letter. Is there anything else I should know? And imagine being able to do all of that without even being able to tell it anything, just because it has access to everything you're already doing. And that is a really, really exciting future that I don't think is too far away.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. Okay, a few last questions. You run a business, you created a business and run a business. There's lots of people in our space, lots of advice businesses out there who've done exactly the same thing, but in their space. What have been the biggest challenges for you just in terms of running the business and the biggest things you've learned along the way?
Sure. I made so many mistakes. And, we've got a philosophy in our business, which is fail, but fail fast. What you never want to see is you work on something and you fail after 12 months of trying it. In terms of some of the biggest learnings that we've had in that process is expectation management. Now, AI is super exciting and I think it's going to change the world, but it's definitely not a silver bullet. There are some things that are not as complex, like meeting notes, which are not complex, but it's somewhat easier to end up getting you set up with. It's a low-hanging fruit. Where it gets really complicated is when you go through more complex tasks, like suitability letters or annual review letters, where there's so many different intricacies that you can go towards. Now, when firms end up utilizing something like this, the initial thinking is that it's a silver bullet and it'll work on day one. And so, and that's a mistake that we found we did early on, where we said, look, it's going to work with you soon enough. But what we didn't do was manage expectation of saying, actually, you will have to invest serious time into building this out with us in order for it to get to where it needs to go to, because it can potentially save you so much time. It's almost similar to having a new employee in the company. If you don't invest that time in with that new employee, they just won't be as good as someone you did invest time with. And you have to think of AI in the same way.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And a final question, and it's outside the advice profession entirely.
Thank God.
Favorite personal use of AI? What's the best use case you've found for AI?
That is such a good question. Let me have a think about my day-to-day here. I'll give you a simple one and then like a more complex one. The simple one, I use a tool called Whisper.
Yeah.
Right. Whisper, you just click a button and it ends up recording your voice. So you never have to type again. It just transcribes everything, puts it out there. Amazing. Use it every single day. Highly recommend that. Another that you end up using a lot is Claude Code. It's fascinating, right? And I mean, they're like incredible visionaries. And we've taken a lot of inspiration from them as well in terms of building out specifically for the industry. But what Claude Code can do is essentially automate or make as easy as possible the process for you to code something for yourself and build what we call a MVP, a minimal viable product. Something really simple, but something that you can end up utilizing. And so a lot of things that we end up shipping and a lot of things that we built out today, we've built a really small MVP very, very quickly in the span of a day or 2 days. We've used it ourselves to think whether it's good enough. And if it is, we'll spend a lot more time building it out. And Claude Code has been incredibly helpful in that.
It's an amazing world, isn't it? Thank you,
It really
Alan.
is.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Nick.
Great talking to you.